Since Repair Clinic encourages you to perform this procedure safely, a warning icon will appear when you should use caution. Many leaf blower repairs will require some disassembly of the product. Before you attempt this, make sure the engine has cooled. Next, you should remove the wire and boot from the spark plug to prevent the engine from accidentally starting. We recommend emptying the fuel tank as well. To access the carburetor or fuel tank, first lift the tab to detach the air filter cover. If you're replacing the carburetor, note the orientation of the fuel lines, then pull them off of the carburetor ports. Use a T20 Torx bit to unthread the two mounting screws, securing the filter base and carburetor. You can now remove the old carburetor. Install the new carburetor by aligning it on the filter base. Confirm the insulator gasket is in place. Then position the carburetor and filter base and thread the screws. Attach the fuel lines to the appropriate carburetor ports. Make sure the air filter gasket is properly positioned on the filter base. Then realign the cover and snap it into place. To access muffler components, unthread the three mounting screws to release the engine cover. To uninstall the muffler, use a T25 Torx bit to unthread the two screws securing the muffler assembly. The heat shield and the muffler cover can now be detached. Reinstall or replace the muffler by first positioning the cover and the heat shield. Insert the exhaust tube into the blower housing as you align the assembly on the engine block. Thread the screws. Realign the engine cover and secure it with the screws. To access blower housing components, first rotate the blower tube assembly counterclockwise to detach it from the housing. Using the T20 Torx bit, unthread the 10 screws securing the blower cover. Use a flathead screwdriver to release the retaining clip to fully remove the cover. To uninstall the fan blade, use a 3/4 inch socket or a spark plug wrench to unthread the spark plug. Confirm the engine piston is in the down position. Then insert a cord into the cylinder to prevent the piston from moving. You can now use a 1/2 inch socket or wrench to unthread the blower fan blade retaining nut and remove the fan blade. To access starter components, the flywheel or the ignition coil, remove the washer. Then unthread the screws to release the engine cover. Next, Unthread the 4 screws securing the lower housing assembly. Remove the housing assembly. If you need to replace the rewind spring, first untie the knot in the starter rope to release the starter handle. Now hold the starter pulley and slowly release the tension on the spring if still intact. Next, remove the screws and spring retaining tabs. Gently remove the starter pulley and the coiled spring and container underneath. Be aware the coiled spring may cause injury if dislodged. Install the new rewind spring by aligning the spring and container in the lower housing. Reposition the starter pulley and rotate until the end of the new spring catches onto the pulley tab. While pressing down firmly, rotate the pulley an additional 3 or 4 times to put tension on the spring. Feed the rope through the eyelets and use a clamp to secure. Realign the retaining tabs, making sure the side with the ridge is facing upward. Then replace the screws. Slide the starter handle onto the rope and tie a knot to secure. Remove the clamp. If you need to replace the ignition coil, first make sure the flywheel magnets are rotated out of the way. Now use the T20 Torx bit to unthread the mounting screws to release the old coil. Install the new ignition coil by aligning it on the engine block, then thread the mounting screws loosely. Pull the coil back and tighten the screws. Insert a business card between the coil and flywheel. Then rotate the flywheel so the magnets align with the coil. Loosen the screws to align the coil the correct distance from the flywheel. Retighten the screws and remove the card. Reinsert the cord to keep the piston in the down position, if required. Reassemble the leaf blower by first repositioning the lower housing assembly. Thread the screws. Next, realign the engine cover and secure it with the screws. Slide the washer onto the motor shaft. Reposition the fan blade, then thread the retaining nut to secure. Remove the cord from the cylinder and rethread the spark plug. Be careful not to damage the threads by over-tightening. Reposition the blower cover on the housing and snap the retaining clip into place. Thread all of the screws. Realign the blower tube assembly and rotate clockwise until the tube locks into place. With the reassembly complete, reattach the wire and boot to the spark plug, refill the fuel tank, and your leaf blower should be ready for use.